Imagine this. You're Vito Spatafori, a real come-up-from-behind kind of guy, and you're sitting in the hospital bed, and to your right is your brother Brian. He's just been beaten within an inch of his life, about to die. You're not sure what to do. You're not sure whether there even is anything possible you can do. And then to your left is Ralphie Cifaretto making fun of your weight, and also calling your brother an idiot as he lies there paralyzed. Today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite Sopranos characters, Ralphie Cifaretto, the devil himself. Now, I know that's a popular theory that Ralphie is the devil, and there's a couple scenes of evidence that kind of suggest it, but we're not really going to be going into that much today. Today, we're going to be mainly talking about why Ralphie Cifaretto was never going to become a better man, despite how he might have been improving slightly towards the end of his life. So a little backstory for Ralphie is that Tony Soprano already didn't like Ralphie before the events of the show. It's actually revealed in cut script, so it might not be canon, but personally I consider it canon, that Ralphie had killed a girl named Deborah DeTio during a picnic that they had back in the day. Eventually, after the picnic, they went on a canoe, and Ralphie sunk the canoe, and she ended up dying. And because of that, he was expelled, even though he eventually told Rosalie that he left because he had to take care of his mom. During this time, he was friends with Tony Soprano, Jackie Aprile, and the DeMeo family mobster, Silvio Dante. Together, they would do hijackings, robberies, they would sell pot. Not really like high-class stuff, but you know, they'd make their money. But eventually, Tony and Jackie decided to rob Feech La Manna. They knew he had a card game set up, and they figured this card game would have a bunch of people that were high up made men, and they would have a bunch of money. And that would be the perfect opportunity for them to show off their ambition and to really do a big score. Now, unfortunately, Ralph didn't take part in this because he got the clap from a hippie. And according to him, his dick was dripping like a busted pipe. So he was unable to participate in this robbery. Now, at some point, Ralph married a woman named Ronnie, and they had a son named Justin together. And he was also, at some unknown point, sent to Miami to handle the DeMeo family's real estate businesses. It was there that he started doing a lot of cocaine and really developed a bad habit for the stuff. Not that it's really possible to develop a good habit for that stuff, but you know what I'm saying. Even claiming in one of the episodes that on the day of his son's 7th birthday, he forgot to even call him because he was so high on cocaine. And trust me, Ralphie's cocaine addiction is very apparent in every scene he's in. He's the most coked out person I've ever seen in the entire Sopranos. The first time we see Ralph in the show is when he returns to Miami following the death of Richie Aprile. The first time we see him, he's consoling Tony Soprano about the death of his mother, telling him that his mother had actually passed about a year or so ago as well. So he related to him a little bit. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that his mother might have actually been abusive towards him. And I believe this personally because the dude is into weird sex stuff, like getting called mommy's little whore. Like, obviously something happened in his childhood. And the actor for Ralph Cifaretto actually said in an interview that he played Ralph as if he was molested by one of his stepfathers, one of his mother's boyfriends. And so Ralph's an incredibly tragic character in that sense, that it's never outright said, but there's always such a deep level of trauma ingrained into the character of Ralph. I'm guessing this is one of the big reasons that caused him to really have a disdain towards women and to treat them horribly throughout the whole show, hearkening back to his hatred towards his own mother. Ralph was only a soldier at this time, albeit a really high-ranking one, but he kind of tries to take over the Aprile crew as its new capo when he first enters into the New Jersey life. And Tony Soprano is not having any of that, reminding him again that it's his crew, not Ralphie's. Just pushing a little disrespect on Ralphie's name. And even though Ralphie is the highest earner by far, Tony actually turns him down for the captain role and instead puts in Gigi Sestone, which really pisses off Ralphie. He even undermines Gigi Sestone by criticizing his decision to choose the elderly Bobby Bacala Sr. to kill Sally and Teal, by saying, "You're gonna send in an old man? What's he gonna do, gum the guy to death?" Ralphie doesn't care about anyone's feelings. He kind of knows that since he's a high earner, he has a little bit of leeway and people aren't just going to outright kill him because he's good for business. So he's always pushing it just a little bit, just trying to get under people's skin. Every scene he's in. Eventually, Ralph starts dating a 20-year-old stripper named Tracee. Tracee still lives with her mother and has a kid that she doesn't really take that good of care of. Which kind of goes back to how Ralphie's almost supportive of degenerate acts like this, of not taking care of the child, of being mean to one another. He's so supportive of sadistic things, which is shown when Silvio Dante is dragging Tracee back to work because she's been missing days hanging out with Ralphie, and he starts beating her, and Ralphie, even though this girl is kind of his guma, just laughs and smiles about it. This is the exact opposite of Tony Soprano, who at oftentimes treats women much better than he treats the men in his life. I'm guessing as sort of a trauma response to the way he's always tried to gain his mother's affection, but she never gives it to him. So now he's constantly chasing women like his mother, putting them on a pedestal like he put his mother on a pedestal when he was younger. Ralph eventually stops calling Tracee for a couple of days, and when she passes by him in the bar, Ralph comments how she can't even say hello now. Tracee's really angry at him at this time, and she hasn't told him yet that she's pregnant, which is going to be a big turning point for their relationship. Once she tells him she's pregnant, Ralph is very supportive of this, saying that it's amazing. They'll finally be able to get a house, and she'll live with him, and it's going to be a beautiful house, and they're going to have beautiful kids, and if the kid's a boy, they're going to name him after Ralph, and if the kid's a girl, they're going to name him after Tracee, so that she can become a cock-sucking slob just like her mom. This sets Tracee off. She starts spitting at him and slapping at him, and he's holding her off, and he delivers one of my favorite lines in the entire show. After this, she delivers a really good punch, in which he responds with an even better punch, sadly. She gets rocked back, laughing at him. She yells, "Does this make you feel like a man?" And apparently it did, because he proceeds to continue to punch her and slam her head into a guardrail until she is dead. It's truly one of the hardest scenes to watch in the entire Sopranos. The only scene I think surpassing this for me personally, the rape of Dr. Melfi. But even then, these would have to be tied, because it's just horrible to watch. And what's even more sad is that before this, she was trying to become friends with Tony Soprano because she needed some kind of father figure in her life. But Tony really didn't want anything to do with her, and so after this, he felt a little bit of guilt for her death. Ralphie walks back inside the bar, starts icing up his hand that's clearly destroyed because he just pummeled it into a skull, and starts saying, "Hey, Tracee fell. So sad. She fell repeatedly on her head and somehow died. It's so weird." And obviously everyone can see through this bullcrap, but they can't really do anything about it, except for hide the body, until Tony comes out, and upon seeing it, proceeds to punch Ralphie, which might sound like a normal thing, but in the world of the mob, you can't punch a made man. So this sets Ralphie on a path of revenge. Tony justifies his actions by saying that Ralphie disrespected the Bing by doing that. But most people don't really agree with him. I mean, Ralphie was a made man. You aren't supposed to touch a made man. And even Sil, which is one of the most level-headed people in the show, in my opinion, recognizes that Ralphie's actions were horrible. But Tony should have only been able to physically retaliate if it was a woman he had sex with or a blood relative. And Tracee was neither, so he shouldn't have punched her. After this, Ralphie wants Tony killed, and he ends up telling Johnny Sack about this, in which Johnny Sack tells him that he should not be talking to him about this, and he shouldn't even be thinking about this. Tony, feeling worried that punching him might cause some kind of disturbance in the business, and might end up getting him killed, offers Ralphie a drink, in which Ralphie declines. Tony takes this as a big emotional hit, holding a grudge about this for a while after. Sadly, the old captain, Gigi, suddenly dies of a heart attack while taking a shit on the toilet. So Tony pretty much has to install Ralph as the captain of the April crew, because he's the only guy that really pulls in money like that. After Tony grants him this request to become the captain, he tells him to be careful what he wished for. And then Ralphie offers him a drink, in a genuine moment of Ralphie seeming to want to just let bygones be bygones. But Tony just can't. His ego's too big to control, and so he just walks out of the room, basically severing any kind of connection they could have had, leading to his inevitable death. At this point in the story, Ralphie's dating Ro, Jackie Jr.'s mother, and also Jackie Sr.'s ex-wife. Because of this, Ralphie takes on a more parental role to Jackie Jr., although he's terrible at it. After driving back home from an awkward dinner with Jackie Jr., Ralphie decides he's going to take the kid on some business. During this business, they shake down a guy for his money and proceed to beat him, and he even gets Jackie Jr. to hit the guy too. It's horrible, and it's something that Tony is very against. Eventually, Ralphie tells Jackie Jr. the story about how his father, Jackie Sr., and Tony Soprano had robbed Feech LaManna back in the day, and that's what got them so big. And this kind of planted a really bad seed in Jackie Jr.'s mind to want to do something like that to increase his cred and get some respect. When Jackie Jr. eventually asks Ralphie for a gun, Ralphie doesn't even really give it a second thought, giving the kid a gun pretty much straight away. Sadly, though, Jackie Jr., the #1 dumbass in the entire show, decides to rob a gambling game that's being run by made men. Jackie ends up shooting at Christopher Moltisanti and Furio, and he even ends up killing the dealer Sunshine after he starts talking a little too much and scaring Jackie a little bit. Eventually, after this, Ralphie and Tony have to decide if they're going to kill Jackie Jr. And this is a really tough decision because they both have played a sort of parental figure in Jackie Jr.'s life, with Jackie Jr. dating Meadow Soprano, making Tony feel responsible for it. But even though both of them were kind of a father figure to Jackie Jr., in this conversation where they're debating whether or not they should kill him, it seems like both of them really want to kill him, but are trying to pass the blame to the other. Almost as if they're just waiting for the right opportunity so that the other person can kill him and they can kind of throw away all the responsibility from his death. Let's not forget, Tony is a psychopath too, or at the very least a sociopath. Eventually, Ralphie decides to kill Jackie Jr., sending the least sneaky person on the planet off on a very sensitive mission. Though I suppose if Vito Spadafori can keep his sexuality a secret, then he can keep this a secret as well. After this, Ralphie has no clue how to even act like he's sad about Jackie Jr.'s death, even leaving to his Guma's house to not be around Rosalie April, aka Ro, because she's just annoying him and he can't understand her feelings. At some point after this, he begins having an affair with Janice Soprano. He actually does gain genuine feelings for Janice, even leaving Rosalie eventually to stay with Janice instead. One of the reasons I feel that he liked Janice is because Janice is horrible, and I think that just matches his energy perfect, and it sort of brings him back to homeostasis. He needs someone that's evil in his life. He's not into you if you're a good person. If you're trying to become better, he's not going to be supportive of that. Which kind of, in a way, reminds me of Tony Soprano in that sense. Like the scenes with Tony Soprano and Christopher, and he's trying to get him to quit alcohol, but then when Christopher does quit alcohol, he's mad about it. Tony just can't really be happy when other people are happy. But Ralph's way more shameless about this, and he more gets a sense of happiness when people are unhappy. Whereas Tony has the opposite. He just feels unhappy when people are happy. Hope that made sense. They're essentially two sides of the same coin. Very different, but still gets the same outcome of being horrible and pulling other people down alongside with you. Eventually, Ralph leaves Ro to stay with Janice. But Janice, not really wanting to put up with all the freaky stuff that Ralph's into, basically kicks him out the second he walks in just because he wore shoes into the house. Like, she's just fishing for a reason to get Ralph out this door, because she knows he's crazy too, and she doesn't really want to be with him. She just wants someone to want her. So at this point, Ralph's not dating Ro, he's not dating Janice, and he really doesn't have anyone. But eventually he starts seeing this Guma, or I'm not actually sure. Is a Guma just a hoe? Or is a Guma like your side piece? I feel like Guma's probably like a mistress. Yeah, looked it up. Guma's a mistress, so Valentina is not his Guma. She's just a girl he's dating. She's not that important now, but just keep her in mind for later. Eventually, while at Albert Boris's birthday dinner, Ralph makes a fat joke about Ginny Sack, which is Johnny Sack's wife. The exact line was that he heard Ginny Sack was having a 95-pound mole removed from her ass. This implied that Ginny Sack therefore was big enough to have a 95-pound mole removed from her ass, very much offending Johnny Sack. So you might wonder how he was able to even find out about this joke that was told. Well, he found out because there had to have been a snitch. There had to have been someone that ratted to him that was there at that dinner. But Johnny Sack's not willing to give up that person, and that person does not come forward. Pretty much everyone is 100% sure, though, that it's Polly. And I personally agree. Johnny Sack is so mad about this that he actually puts a hit on Ralph, trying to kill the man. And the hit's so close to being pulled off, like literally last second, and then Johnny Sack calls it off. Which actually in turn saves his own life as well, because Carmine Lupertazzi was going to have him killed if he went through with this hit, because it would have been seen as a disrespect towards Carmine, who recently had told him that he didn't want him to go through with it. Carmine didn't think this issue was worthy of a whack job. Maybe attacks, but no whacking. Later, while hanging out with Eugene and Vito, Ralphie's thinking back to the birthday dinner, trying to piece together who might have been flapping their gums about this issue. And he comes to the correct assumption that it was probably Little Polly who told Big Polly, who then relayed the information to Johnny Sack, because they were good friends at the time. So, seeing as it was kind of like a game of high school telephone, he decides, hey, I'll play a little game of telephone myself. And he decides to phone up Polly's mother, telling him that we have your son in the infirmary room. We're going to need your insurance card because he was blowing a Boy Scout. And... because he was blowing a Boy Scout, and he has a gerbil stuck up his ass. Ralphie plays it pretty convincingly, so she actually ends up believing him, even rushing to get her insurance card. After Polly found out about this, he wouldn't even support Ralphie when his son was in the hospital, telling Tony that Ralph was a piece of shit, and that he wasn't going to show him any sympathy. Afterwards, he even told the guys that his mom had to be put on Xanax for this, and actually be placed into a hospital unit for a while. And that as a result of all of this stress that was caused by this phone call, had to be treated for nervous bowel syndrome. For all those reasons, Polly says that if he ever gets proof that Ralph was behind this, on my old man's grave, Ralph's a fucking corpse. Tony, then kind of brushing Polly off, says that he doesn't get it because he doesn't have any kids, so he couldn't possibly understand the pain of having your kid hurt like this. Which is really hypocritical, because later when he finds out that he killed Pyomai to try and get money to save his kid, Tony kills him for it. But that's me getting ahead of myself. Later, Hesh Robkin sells Ralphie a horse named Pyomai in order to become a racehorse so he can make some money off of her. Tony becomes really attached to this horse, even paying for her veterinary needs and staying with her when she gets sick, which really does sound like Tony. Just like how he would always feed the ducks and was perfectly fine with giving them his entire pool, basically. Eventually, Ralphie stops seeing that Valentina lady, and Tony wants to get some of that action. But he doesn't want to disrespect Ralph by having sex with one of his old girlfriends, as it's extremely disrespectful to do that to a made man. Valentina then tells him that the reason she actually left Ralphie was because of his strange sexual proclivities. He was into weird stuff, like he wanted her to cheese grate his dick, and she was not down for any of that, so she had to leave him because of it. Tony sees this as a justification, kinda like... It's not like she was going to get him off anyways because of his weird sexual tastes. So it's no biggie if I take her. It's not even stealing her, as he clearly didn't want her. And he's clearly a weirdo to even be into that kind of stuff anyways. Before fully justifying it in his mind, he needs Janice to tell him the same thing, to really know if it's true. So he pays her around $3,000, I think. And she tells him that he's into bottoming from the top, or topping from the bottom, something like that. He's got weird tastes, man. Essentially, he needs to be in control, but he likes forcing the other person into making him feel like he's not in control. So it's controlling someone while at the same time forcing them to make you submissive, dominating someone into your own submission. It's incredibly weird, and is very likely a trauma response as a result of being molested as a child, which is not confirmed in the show, but like I said, that's how the actor played this role. So, in my mind, it's canon. It makes sense for a child of sexual assault to maybe want to still be in control so they don't feel helpless like they did when they were hurt when they were younger. but still also only associate sex with feelings of submission. This could very easily create feelings of sexual confusion, thus creating a guy
Ralph.
who loves nothing more than a dildo up the ass, some hot candle flames on him, and a nice cheese grater on his dick. After hearing this, Tony decides, screw it, I'll have sex with Valentina. And they begin a relationship. Later, Ralph's son Justin gets shot with an arrow while playing Lord of the Rings. Pretty badass, to be honest. But sadly, it really, really hurt him, and it's possible that he won't be able to speak or will be brain dead for the rest of his life because of this. After this is the first times in the entire story that we have ever seen Ralph be remorseful about any of the bad actions in his life. While speaking to Father Intintola, trying to find some guidance, he begins confessing all his many sins. He even proposes to Rosalie after this, though she turns him down, and starts a college fund in Jackie Jr.'s name. It's actually very kind stuff, for the first time. But then right after that, he ruins it by killing that racehorse Pyomai. The reason he did this was for the insurance money. And sure, he never outright does say he killed her in the show, but he basically goes, I didn't kill her, Tony, but so what if I killed that motherfucker? I needed the insurance money. Basically confirming he killed her. Now, technically, the fires didn't fully kill Pyomai, but she was injured so severely that they suggested putting her down, as for her own well-being. And this really traumatized Tony. Kind of strangely enough. A man who's beaten, broken bones, killed people, seen countless disgusting things, chopped people up, put them in a meat grinder. He still only cares about the life of a horse rather than humans. Well, that's not entirely true, because Tony does care about humans, but he pretty much only cares about women, but he cares about them on a very superficial level. And anyone that's in the game, that's in the mob business, he finds killing you as not an immoral or moral thing. It's just simply what soldiers do. But a poor, innocent racehorse, she was never in the game. So what was the purpose of killing her? It's messed up logic, but this is how Tony Soprano's weird, sick mind works sometimes, with backwards logic. During this, Ralph calls him a hypocrite because he eats beef and sausage by the fucking carload. And Tony gets angry at this and eventually starts fighting with him, even slamming his head on the ground while strangulating him, and screaming, "She was a beautiful, innocent creature." Now, I don't think that this line was just for the horse. I believe that it was also him talking about Tracee, as he still felt a lot of sadness from her death, and hated Ralph as a result of it. Tony calls Christopher, who shows up high on heroin, but even high on heroin, he can tell that Tony beat and killed Ralphie just for that horse. It's revealed here that Ralphie was actually wearing a toupee this entire time, being bald as can be. They then dispose of him in a quarry, and never speak of this to anyone, ever. Tony even makes up a story that Johnny Sack had Ralph killed over a business deal gone wrong. Pretty much everyone despised Ralph, so no one really looked into the circumstances behind his death and just kind of accepted it as shit happens. The last significant moment with Ralph for me is when Tony's telling Dr. Melfi about a dream he had with Ralph, in which a caterpillar appears on Ralph's bald head and then turns into a butterfly. Dr. Melfi points out that the transition of the caterpillar to the butterfly usually signifies a change, showing that Ralph was trying to become a better person right before his death. If only Ralph wasn't so fundamentally broken as a person, maybe we could have even seen a good arc for him, in which he became a better man and father after his son's tragic arrow wound. But honestly, I don't believe that ever would have happened. Ralph at his core was an evil man, and I sincerely don't think that anything would have changed him. I think he would have gone the rest of his life doing the most evil, heinous thing, and then justifying it as him trying to do good, which is very similar to Tony Soprano in a way. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I tried making it better researched and better edited this time, but sadly my mic quality is lower because my cable box for my mic broke, so I gotta get a new one, and then the mic quality should be back. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.